The internet froze in disbelief the moment the clip resurfaced. A few seconds of audio. A single bar from a song. One cryptic message that fans swear was never meant to be heard. And suddenly, one of the biggest names in hip-hop was trending for all the wrong reasons. Screenshots started flying. Old interviews were dug up. Lyrics people ignored for years were replayed frame by frame. And the streets? They started talking louder than ever. What if the music wasn't just music? What if the subliminals weren't artistic expression, but coded messages? Fans began connecting dots that were never meant to be connected, asking a question so explosive it sent shockwaves through the culture. Did industry loyalty turn into something darker behind closed doors? Timelines didn't add up. Relationships didn't make sense anymore. One moment, they were collaborators. Next, the energy shifted. Deleted posts. Awkward silences. A tribute that vanished minutes after going live. And buried in all of it, whispers about a fallen friend whose name the internet refuses to let rest. Twitter erupted into chaos. Fan pages split into war camps. Some screamed reach, others swore the truth was hiding in plain sight. Anonymous accounts claimed to have receipts. A leaked voice note allegedly captured a conversation that was never supposed to surface. And just when it felt like the story couldn't get darker, another clip surfaced, sending speculation into overdrive. Nothing has been proven. No official statements. Just fragments, rumors, and a growing sense that this story goes way deeper than anyone wants to admit. Because if even half of what the internet believes is true, then hip-hop has been hiding one of its darkest secrets in plain sight. And once you hear what comes next, there's no UN hearing it. The moment the internet decided to rewind history, everything changed. What started as a single lyric being replayed on TikTok spiraled into a full-blown cultural interrogation. Fans weren't just listening anymore, they were investigating. Screenshots from years ago resurfaced. Old interviews suddenly felt loaded. And collaborations that once looked like brotherhood now felt awkward, forced, and strangely calculated. People began asking the same dangerous question in different ways: how deep does loyalty really go in the rap industry? It didn't help that timelines began collapsing under scrutiny. Fans noticed that relationships shifted abruptly after a certain incident that everyone remembers but no one openly discusses anymore. One day, they were inseparable, posting together, praising each other in interviews, moving like a united front. Then suddenly, silence. No more public appearances. No more shared stages. And most chilling of all, no more mentions of a fallen friend whose name once meant everything. Online detectives went to work. They pulled up old tweets that had been deleted. Instagram stories that vanished within minutes. A tribute post that appeared and disappeared so fast only screenshots proved it ever existed. Why delete it? Why erase the memory? That question alone fueled weeks of speculation, with fans arguing day and night over what it really meant. Then came the lyrics. Bars people once brushed off as tough talk were suddenly dissected like legal documents. Every word slowed down. Every pause analyzed. Fans claimed certain lines weren't just metaphors, but warnings. Others insisted it was all coincidence, that the internet was doing what it always does, reaching for a conspiracy where there was none. But the problem was this: too many things lined up uncomfortably well. A leaked DM allegedly sent between two industry insiders made things worse. It didn't name names. It didn't accuse anyone directly. But it hinted at street politics crossing into music business decisions. That was enough. Once that phrase hit Twitter, there was no turning back. Influencers jumped on it. YouTubers rushed out breaking news videos. Comment sections turned into digital battlegrounds. Fans began comparing how differently certain losses were handled. Why was one fallen friend mourned publicly for years, while another name slowly faded into silence? Why did collaborations continue with certain people, while others were quietly cut off? And why did attempts to ask these questions publicly seem to get shut down so quickly? That's when an alleged voice note started circulating in private group chats. No one could confirm where it came from. The audio quality was rough. The voices were distorted. But the tone? Chilling. Listeners claimed it sounded like a tense conversation between people trying to calm a situation before it got out of hand. The phrase "this bigger than rap" stood out and sent chills through everyone who heard it. Whether the audio was real or not didn't even matter anymore. The damage was done. Once people believed there was something to hide, every move became suspicious. Every silence felt loud. Every appearance together looked forced, like two people standing next to each other while carrying secrets neither dared to acknowledge publicly. The pressure intensified when fans noticed how quickly certain topics were avoided in interviews. Questions redirected. Answers shortened. Body language stiff. One journalist later claimed their question about a specific person was removed from an interview entirely before airing. That allegation alone reignited the fire. Why censor it if there was nothing to hide? Meanwhile, social media was melting down. Twitter threads reached thousands of retweets. Fan accounts split into factions, one side screaming that the dots were obvious, the other warning about dangerous assumptions. Instagram lives were flooded with comments demanding answers. TikTok creators reenacted timelines using photos, dates, and audio clips, turning speculation into viral content viewed millions of times. But the most disturbing detail wasn't online, it was what people claimed happened behind the scenes. According to multiple anonymous accounts, there were tense phone calls. Emergency conversations between powerful figures trying to prevent something from spiraling. The word intervention kept popping up. Not legal intervention, something more personal. More urgent. People began whispering that a respected figure in the industry had to step in to calm tensions, reminding everyone involved that the consequences would be irreversible if things went public. That suggestion alone implied there was something serious enough to contain. And once that idea took hold, fans felt they were watching a cover-up unfold in real time. As the speculation grew louder, one detail refused to go away: the sudden behavioral shift. The person at the center of the storm stopped acknowledging the fallen friend entirely. No birthday posts. No anniversary tributes. No subtle nods in lyrics. It was as if that chapter had been erased. For fans who remembered how close they once were, the silence felt louder than any diss track. Commentators started asking uncomfortable questions. Was this about grief, or about survival? Was it fear? Pressure? Or something deeper that the public was never meant to understand? In an industry where business and street credibility often collide, people wondered whether money and power were quietly shaping decisions that fans would never see. And just when it seemed like the story had peaked, another clip surfaced. This one wasn't audio. It was visual. Short. Grainy. And allegedly taken during a private moment when tensions were high. No violence. No clear context. Just expressions, body language, and a vibe so off that fans immediately labeled it the moment everything changed. That clip spread like wildfire. People claimed it showed realization. Others said it showed guilt. Some argued it showed nothing at all. But one thing was certain: after that moment, nothing looked the same again. Relationships shifted permanently. Public unity replaced private truth. And whatever really happened was buried under layers of silence, success, and unspoken rules. By the end of that week, the internet wasn't just speculating anymore, it was demanding answers. And while no one had officially spoken, the message was clear: this story wasn't going away. Because when fans believe they've uncovered something forbidden, something the industry doesn't want discussed, they dig harder. And as the pressure mounted, one terrifying thought began circulating everywhere: what if the truth isn't being hidden because it's fake, but because it's too real? And just as that question started gaining traction, someone close to the situation allegedly decided they were done staying quiet. What they were preparing to reveal would change everything. The silence didn't last. It never does when too many people are watching. Just when fans thought the story would fade into the background like so many other internet conspiracies, an anonymous account appeared and changed everything. No The account didn't name anyone directly, but it didn't have to. It replied to threads, liked comments that hinted at industry politics, and reposted clips fans were already suspicious of. Every move felt calculated, like someone dangling breadcrumbs while staying just far enough from the fire. People begged the account to go live. Others warned it was clout chasing. But when the account dropped what it claimed were screenshots of old messages between industry figures, the tone shifted instantly. The messages were vague, filled with coded language and unfinished thoughts. But certain phrases stood out: handle it, this can't come back on us, and the most chilling one of all, keep it off the internet. Fans froze. Even skeptics admitted the language didn't sound like regular industry talk. It sounded like people trying to contain something. As the screenshots spread, so did the panic. Fan pages went into overdrive. Twitter Spaces ran for hours with thousands of listeners debating every word. Some argued the messages were fake, easy to fabricate. Others pointed out timestamps that lined up a little too well with real-world events. And then came the most unsettling part: the account suddenly deleted everything and went silent. That disappearance only made things worse. Why drop something so explosive and vanish? Was it fear? Pressure? Or did someone get to them? Conspiracy theories exploded overnight. People claimed the account had been threatened. Others believed it was a controlled leak meant to test public reaction. No one knew for sure, but the timing couldn't have been more suspicious. At the same time, fans noticed a subtle but undeniable shift in public behavior. Certain artists stopped interacting online. Interviews were cancelled. Appearances became rare. When questions did come up, answers felt rehearsed, defensive, carefully worded. One artist was even caught on camera rolling their eyes when a reporter mentioned a specific name, an expression that launched 1,000 think pieces. The pressure reached a boiling point when an old interview resurfaced that had been ignored for years. In it, someone laughed off a question about loyalty, saying, "This industry different. Everybody ain't who they say they are." At the time, it sounded like generic wisdom. Now, fans treated it like a confession hiding in plain sight. Then came the reactions from other celebrities, not direct statements, but cryptic posts. A broken heart emoji. A quote about betrayal. A story post that said, "The truth always comes out." None of them confirmed anything, but together they created an atmosphere of unease. It felt like everyone knew something the public didn't, and that knowledge was heavy. Behind the scenes, rumors spread that high-level conversations were happening. Emergency calls. Damage control meetings. Advisors stepping in to tell people what not to say. According to internet chatter, the goal wasn't to clear anything up, it was to keep things from escalating. Fans took that as confirmation that this wasn't just internet noise. Something real was being managed. And then there was the alleged intervention. Multiple anonymous commenters claimed a powerful figure in the culture had personally reached out to those involved, urging calm and unity. The reasoning, according to the rumors, wasn't just about friendship, it was about consequences. About how fast things could spiral if old wounds were reopened publicly. Whether true or not, the idea that someone had to step in at all suggested the tension was deeper than anyone wanted to admit. Meanwhile, the fans weren't letting go. They began comparing timelines more aggressively, lining up releases, appearances, and absences. They noticed collaborations that never happened. Songs that were teased but scrapped. Lyrics that were changed at the last minute. One unreleased verse allegedly contained lines that were later removed entirely, lines fans now believed were too close to the truth. The internet's favorite question became impossible to ignore: if nothing happened, why does everything look like it was carefully rewritten? What made things even darker was how one name kept disappearing from public memory. No shout-outs. No tributes. No casual mentions. For someone who was once publicly celebrated, the absence felt deliberate. Fans argued over whether it was grief, guilt, or survival. But no explanation felt satisfying. As days passed, the anonymous account reappeared briefly, just long enough to post one sentence before vanishing again: "Everybody chose money." That line hit like a grenade. Screenshots flooded timelines. Commentators debated its meaning. Was it about business over loyalty? Silence over truth? Fans took it as an indictment of the entire industry. At that point, the narrative had grown bigger than any one person. It wasn't just about rumors anymore, it was about how power works behind closed doors. How stories get buried. How silence can be strategic. People started asking whether fans ever really know their favorite artists, or if they're only seeing what's allowed to be seen. And just when it felt like the internet had reached peak speculation, something unexpected happened. A respected voice, someone known for staying neutral, hinted during a live conversation that there were things the public will never hear. The comment was subtle, almost throwaway, but fans clipped it instantly. If even neutral voices were acknowledging unseen layers, then the story was far from over. By the end of the week, the mood had changed completely. This was no longer gossip for entertainment. It felt heavy. Uncomfortable. Like people were peeking behind a curtain they weren't supposed to touch. And with every new rumor, the same question echoed louder: how much of this is being hidden on purpose? As pressure mounted and speculation refused to die, one final rumor began circulating. According to multiple posts, someone directly connected to the situation was preparing to speak, not anonymously, not cryptically, but openly. Whether it would be a live, an interview, or a leak, no one knew. But the idea alone sent shockwaves through the internet. Because if that person really talked, the carefully maintained silence would shatter. And once that happens, there's no controlling what comes out next. By the time the weekend hit, it felt like the entire culture was holding its breath. Every refresh of the timeline brought a new rumor, a new clip, a new theory that pushed the story closer to a point of no return. Fans weren't just watching anymore, they were waiting. Waiting for someone to finally say the thing everyone else was dancing around. Waiting for the silence to crack. Then came the live stream announcement. It wasn't from a major artist. It wasn't from a label. It was from someone the internet considered too close to ignore but too distant to control. A person who had been mentioned in whispers all week posted a simple message: "I'm tired of carrying this." No context. No names. Just a time and a date. The internet erupted instantly. Screenshots spread faster than wildfire. Thousands of people set reminders. Twitter Spaces popped up within minutes, speculating on what could possibly be said. But hours before the live stream was supposed to start, the post disappeared. No explanation. No follow-up. Just gone. That deletion triggered pure chaos. Some fans believed the person had been pressured into silence. Others thought it was a stunt that went too far. But a third group, the loudest, was convinced that what was about to be revealed scared the wrong people. That theory gained traction when another anonymous account claimed the live stream was strongly discouraged behind the scenes. Whether that was true or not, the damage was already done. The idea of suppression had taken root. At the same time, subtle cracks began appearing in public alliances. Artists who once stood side by side stopped acknowledging each other altogether. Likes disappeared. Mutual follows vanished overnight. Photos were quietly untagged. Fans noticed everything. They always do. To them, these weren't coincidences, they were signs of distancing, of people protecting themselves before the story turned toxic. Then came the interviews. Questions got dodged with uncomfortable laughs. Answers sounded carefully measured. One artist responded to a direct question with, "I don't speak on internet narratives," before abruptly ending the interview early. Another said, "Some things are bigger than music," and refused to elaborate. That phrase alone became a trending topic. Bigger than music meant bigger stakes, and fans knew it. As pressure mounted, the narrative began shifting. It was no longer just about what allegedly happened, it was about who chose to stay silent and why. Commentators started framing it as a morality test. Loyalty versus survival. Truth versus money. Street codes versus industry contracts. Fans debated endlessly whether silence was understandable or unforgivable. What made it worse was the emotional The most chilling moment came when an old associate, someone rarely heard from, posted a vague message late at night. Some of you'll celebrate success but don't know what it cost. No tags. No explanation. But fans immediately connected it to the ongoing storm. That post alone sparked another wave of speculation and think pieces, each one more intense than the last. Meanwhile, the conversation around industry protection grew louder. Fans began questioning how many stories never make it past closed doors. How many truths are softened, redirected, or buried to protect brands and business relationships? The idea that the public only sees a polished version of reality felt more believable than ever. Then, unexpectedly, the anonymous account from earlier returned one final time. No screenshots. No hints. Just one sentence: the truth ain't safe for everybody. And just like that, the account was gone again. That line lingered like smoke. Commentators dissected it from every angle. Did it mean the truth was dangerous? Legally risky? Or personally devastating? Nobody knew, but everyone felt the weight of it. The tone of the conversation shifted from excitement to unease. This wasn't fun gossip anymore. It felt like standing too close to something volatile. As days passed, fans noticed something else: how carefully the story was being avoided. No statements. No clarifications. No denials. Just silence. Strategic, coordinated silence. And in the internet age, silence often speaks louder than words. Some fans argued that the lack of response proved nothing. Others believed it proved everything. The divide became bitter. Friendships online ended over arguments in comment sections. People accused each other of protecting the industry or spreading dangerous speculation. The story had become bigger than the individuals involved. It had turned into a mirror reflecting how deeply fans crave truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Eventually, the frenzy slowed, not because questions were answered, but because exhaustion set in. The internet moved on, as it always does. New scandals took over the timeline. New rumors demanded attention. But this story never fully disappeared. It lingered beneath the surface, resurfacing whenever a lyric felt too pointed or an interaction felt too cold. And that might be the most unsettling part of all. Because no matter what's true or not, no matter what really happened behind closed doors, the belief that something is being hidden has permanently altered how fans see the culture. Trust cracked. Illusions shattered. And once that happens, there's no going back to innocence. Some truths never come out in full. Some stories remain fractured, passed down through whispers and speculation rather than confirmation. But the streets, and the internet, have long memories. They remember what felt off. They remember what went unsaid. And one day, whether through a lyric, an interview, or an unexpected confession, the missing pieces might finally surface. Until then, the question still hangs in the air, unanswered and uncomfortable. What if the most dangerous part of this story isn't what the internet thinks happened, but what everyone involved refuses to talk about? If you made it this far, understand something: stories like this don't just disappear. They go quiet before they explode again. And when the next piece drops, only the people paying attention will understand what's really happening. That's why you need to stay locked in right here. Because the internet moves fast, and when new clips surface, when old interviews suddenly vanish, when someone finally slips up and says too much, you don't want to be catching up late. You want to already know the context. You want to already see the patterns everyone else missed. Hit that like button, because every reaction tells the algorithm this story matters. Drop a comment and let your voice be heard. Do you think this is all just coincidence, or is there something deeper the public isn't being told? And most importantly, subscribe with notifications on, because the moment new evidence, reactions, or industry responses surface, we'll break it down immediately. This isn't about rumors for entertainment. It's about understanding how power, silence, and loyalty really work behind the scenes. And the more people watching, the harder it becomes to keep uncomfortable truths buried. Stay alert. Stay curious. And don't blink, because the next chapter of this story could drop when you least expect it. You've been warned.